I'd love to ask you about aliens. Let's begin there.
Okay.
And Vimanas. We've actually had Gauranga Das on the show as well.
Right.
He spoke basically about aliens. He didn't call it that, but he spoke about multiple planes, multiple planets,
Yes.
hellish planets, heavenly planets.
Yes.
I'd love to know your perspective on aliens.
Sure. So aliens I've always been fascinated with, as a kid, I used to watch all the science fiction movies that came out on aliens, Species, Aliens, Terminator, Predator, whatever. And I think again, that comes from a civilizational question. Are we alone in this world? Okay, we've always been fascinated with other worlds. And religious teachings or religious stories are no different, right? Some of the people try to figure out the same questions and they decided to explore the universe. Now, of course, scientific exploration was not possible given the lack of technological, which we are not able to do even today. We can't even cross the solar system to actually visit another galaxy or a constellation or a planet. So this comes from the mystical visions of the seers. So, the mantra drashtas, so the authors, who's the author of Rigveda, if I ask you? There's no single person, right? These are collections of hymns that were seen by the rishis. Okay. They were visions that came to them. And that is why these people are called mantra drishtas. They saw the visions.
They saw the mantras.
They saw the mantras. The mantras came to them.
How would you explain what a mantra is to a Westerner listening to this podcast?
So a mantra is a collection of words that has, that's generally set in a particular meter. And this is supposed to be pronounced in a specific way. And generally they are recited at a certain specific time of the day. So they have a lot of people believe that mantras have power.
Like you can
to transform.
You can probably compare it to a spell in Harry Potter.
Exactly. Exactly.
Expecto Patronum is
exactly. Exactly. These are like spells, but they are so interestingly there are spells like that in the Vedas as well, the Reta Vedas, Atharva Veda also. But these mantras are more of hymns or praises or eulogies to the gods. Okay, and these mantras were seen by the seers. So there's no single author of the Vedas. There are 10 mandals of the Rigveda, and all of these have collections of verses and hymns that were seen, envisioned by different rishis. And this, amongst these visions, were the visions of how this universe is. So this is not really detailed too much in the Vedas, but in the Purans, you see this description coming to fruition. And you see a full-blown explanation of how the universe looks. For example, Gauranga Das Prabhu I've heard his lectures in ISKCON, and he's a very good speaker, orator. So ISKCON believes in the Srimad Bhagavad Puran, right? And Srimad Bhagavad Puran gives the entire division of lokas into different planes, of the universe into different planes. So there are 14 lokas. And now 14 lokas existing in the universe, which is not Earth. Earth is just the middle level. Earth is the Madhya Loka. And then you have the Adho Lokas, which are the lower lokas, 7 lokas below, and you have 6 lokas above. So Earth and 6 above is the higher lokas. When you're talking about these different lokas, they have to be different planets, they have to be in different locations across the universe. That automatically makes the denizens of these planets aliens. By definition. Alien is just somebody who does not live on Earth, right? It's a species who did not originate on Earth. So by definition, because these are lokas, different planets, different galaxies probably in the universe, they become aliens. That's my thought on it. Not to say that God is an alien, but a lot of these divine beings that we're talking about, right? The Devas, who have these outer world technology, they have a much, much more scientifically advanced civilization, right? They have access to these divine weapons that are like our WMDs. They have spaceships, they travel to different lokas in those spaceships. Same goes for the Asuras. Even the Adho Lokas, the lower planets, so to say, they're just geographically located in the low half of the universe, according to the Purans. But that doesn't mean that they are lower in any other aspect. They also have advanced science. And these Asuras can also travel like that. Okay, so there's an interesting story about Tripurasur. There are 3 different cities, floating cities, that's how they have been described. There are 3 different floating cities of Asuras. And they received a boon from Lord Brahma that they cannot be destroyed except when the 3 cities come in a single line. They have to be aligned perfectly. That is the only time when these cities can be destroyed. So when you talk about floating cities, what does it mean? It's either 3 different spaceships like arcs, that contain everything sustainable, or it's 3 different satellites of a planet or something to that effect, right? And the possibility of 3 different satellites revolving around a planet coming in one conjunction is very, very rare. So it's probably a scientific event, scientific principle that they're talking about. And then these cities are destroyed by Lord Shiva. And at that opportune moment, the smallest fraction of time when these 3 cities are aligned or these 3 satellites are aligned, that's when Shiva shoots the Narayana Astra. And it's a grand description, okay? Shiva has Bhumi as the chariot. The sun and the moon are the wheels of the chariot. And he takes Mount Meru as the bow. And from there, he shoots the Narayana Astra to destroy these in one single explosion. And this was a big event in the scriptures. It's called the Dev Deepavali. Okay, so this we don't even know of, right? But the Shiva temples, the major Shiva temples in the country, Kashi and the southern temples, they all celebrate this event. And this comes 2 weeks after Diwali.
Okay.
So when we celebrate Deepavali, 2 weeks later is the Dev Deepavali. Because this is when the Devas rejoiced. It did not affect the denizens of earth, but it affected the Devas living in their lokas. Because these Asuras who were living in these floating cities, they used to conduct raids on the Deva cities, on their spaceships. So, I mean, there is no other way to explain this, right? Except for science.
Maybe it's like evil aliens versus good aliens.
Exactly my point.
Intergalactic wars.
Intergalactic wars, and that too, people, maybe the aliens who were more friendly towards us, we started considering them as gods. And the aliens that were inimical to us, they became the villains or the asuras.